You're listening to the Simple Growth Podcast, the show that helps business owners get their life back. Here's your host, Mike Callahan.
Welcome back to the SA Weekly Talk Show here. Mike Callahan with co-host Cody Owen is always coming back to you at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central. Special guest today, Shawn Day of Blue Skies Admin Services. Going to be diving in and talking all things recruiting employees and how the recruiting game has probably changed here during the COVID times, and how some of the practices of recruiting have either changed or pivoted a little bit during this new time to actually go out and get employees. And I know, Shawn, really appreciate you coming on here, but give you a sec to kind of introduce yourself. But I think one thing that we all can agree upon being in the service industry right now is hiring and going out and recruiting employees, whether it was lawn care, home cleaning, pressure washing, soft washing businesses, was not an easy thing pre-COVID. And now there's some extra layers of complexity. So, Shawn, if people have never met you, if you don't mind, just give us a little background on how you cut your teeth in the service industry and, came to market with Blue Skies Admin Services.
Sure. So good to be here. Thanks for having me. I owned a cleaning company for about 20 years. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I told my wife, hey, let's get this thing ready to sell and get it ready. Maybe in 3 years we'll sell it or so. About 2 months after that conversation, I sold my business to Blue Sky Services. Things just rumbled into place. And so our strategy as we consolidated, Blue Skies was mainly at that time an exterior cleaning company. I had the inside stuff. Let's get together and do it. So we ended up, as part of our strategy, buying other cleaning companies. And what we found out rather quickly was we suck at recruiting. We thought we were pretty good at recruiting. We were no good at recruiting. And what happens is, you buy a company with 30, 40 employees, something like that. And George has owned it for, 30 years, and George goes away to retire. About 8 or 9 of their staff goes away because George goes away and Kathy goes away. And so what we did was, I said, we're never going to be able to execute on this unless we put a world-class automated system together for our own company. So we did that. We were able to grow. It's very unlikely that we're short-staffed for very long at all anymore in any market, labor market. And what had happened, Mike, was we had a bunch of our colleagues, power washing companies, buddies, and a lot of people I've known for years in the cleaning industry saying, how are you doing these things? And we scratched our head and said, hey, man, there is a huge untapped niche here. Nobody's helping our businesses, our buddies out there that own cleaning companies, home service companies, lawn companies. And so we started a recruiting service. We've done it now for about 2.5, 3 years, and we service well over 100 clients now. And that's how we sort of stumbled our way into this thing.
So
Cody, you're moving, Mike's not.
yeah, we might have lost Mike for a second there. So when you guys realized that you had this problem of like, oh man, we are not actually great at recruiting, what were the first big hurdles that you guys had to jump over to make that work?
I think the first thing that I envisioned was getting it automated, because when you recruit, we call it blue collar. I've got a Facebook group called Blue Collar Recruiting. We go live every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, and we talk about those things, to your point, Cody. And the thing was, it needs to be automated because in our industries, we hire quickly. We have high turnover. It's not like hiring a nurse that's going to be around for 10 years and it takes forever to go find and qualify somebody. We got to move fast. If you have to move fast, and in the power washing game, it's $100,000 that one employee can bring in revenue. You don't want to be waiting to get a power washer. So automation was probably the first thing that I wanted to dig into. And then the other thing was, how the hell do we pre-screen these people properly? And I think there's 3 parts to it: job description and application flow. Then there's how do you screen it when you get all these applications coming in, and how do you automate it? Because I don't have all day to look through literally 500 to 1,000 resumes every day. And that's the number one hurdle that all of our clients have when they've come to us is, I don't have time for this stuff.
Mm-hmm. So you introduce automation into this cycle, and that takes the a lot of the like labor burden off of you to have to review all of these clients all of these applicants.
Yeah.
So a lot of the things that I hear in recruiting, and you probably have a way to weed this out, there are a lot of people who will apply and like look good on paper and then don't show up to the interview.
Oh yeah. The no-shows.
Yes. Yeah. Do you have an explanation for these no-shows? What are they?
I'm very data-driven. I'm very like E-Myth, Michael Gerber stuff. And so we've got some data behind that, actually. I think it's never going to stop or go away, number one, especially if you're finding A employees, because they're smart people and they're probably going to interview 3 or 4 different places. So that's tough. So here's the data. If somebody reaches out to you to set up an interview and you've already screened them and they're ready to interview, or you reach out to them, if you do not set that interview up within 24 hours or less, you've got a 67% chance that that's going to be a no-show.
Dang. And is the theory that they found something else?
Yeah, that they've already found something else, or the boss has said, hey, you know what? I want to keep you. I'll give you that raise. Please just don't go. There's, so there's a variety of things like that happen. And you have to keep in mind, when you're out recruiting, you see that pipeline and you see that person coming through, but that person's probably talked to 3 other business owners a week or 2 prior to you. And maybe the boss is struggling to figure out if they want to keep that person and give them that raise to stay. And then the other piece of data to answer your question too is, so let's say that you do set up that interview within 24 hours or less and schedule it. If you don't reach out and get back to them within 24 hours, 67% chance. You've got another 23% chance if you don't follow up and confirm it. And our philosophy on that has changed. We used to say, if they don't show up, to hell with them. Well, would you do that in marketing? Okay. Marketing, again, a client, marketing and recruiting are so much the same. It's scary how similar they are. You wouldn't do that in marketing. So you chase down prospects and you give them an estimate. You want to do business with them. You chase them down a little bit until you better do that with an A player, because they don't last very long in this market.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, I mean, it sounds like building an automated system solves a lot of the problems that most service businesses run into in recruiting. So what is your, like, if we're thinking about it in a marketing context, what does your top of funnel look like for recruiting?
Great question. It's very similar. So, our funnel on the top is as big as the globe. It's huge. I don't care how many, we hear this all the time. I get 100 applications from Indeed and they all stink. We hear that all the time. And it's true. It is true. But what tends to happen is we want this huge funnel on top. A big mistake that we used to do is we used to pre-screen in the job description. And we found that to be a big no-no. And here's what would happen. We would have something, in general, if you do this, you're in trouble. If you don't do that, you better do this. They're looking at this job description going, there's no way I want to apply to the. So you don't want to pre-screen the living daylights out of them during the job description. That's a big mistake. I don't care if there's 10,000 applications, as long as it's automated, our system will find 2 or 3 out of, and the data is, we'll find about 3 to 4 out of every 100 to interview, and then out of that we'll probably hire 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you definitely need to have something screening those applicants for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So let's look at those kind of winnow points in our funnel here.
Okay.
So we're trying to bring in as many people as possible. We're not trying to scare them off at the very beginning. We're reeling them in. And then, so you get a certain number of people fill out the application at that point. They've converted to so I work in digital marketing. That's my whole job. So I'm going to continue talking about it in these terms. So then we're hitting kind of our middle of funnel, where they've given us information And what is your criteria to flip someone from, okay, this was an applicant. What separates them to someone you want to interview?
Sure. So once they get in as an applicant, what we have set up is we've got very industry specific questions, which is our online application. Mm-hmm. And at the end of it, about 23% start it and never finish it because it does take a little bit of time, and that's okay. We want people that are serious about the job. Mm-hmm. And what happens is when they do our online application and hit submit, it automatically gives us a score. So when we start our day or we go in there at night, there's going to be a bunch of applicants and there's going to be scores that are green, yellow, red. And based on the way they answered the questions, if they're if they're below our minimum criteria or our minimum score, and this is in the middle of the funnel now, mm-hmm. they basically get an email that says, thank you very much, go away. Much more professional than that, but that's what it says.
Yeah.
The ones that are above that, we're not done there. We take them on and have them do an assessment, a personality assessment. So step one is industry specific questions. And if they make it that and they pass that, then they have to do personality assessments. And they're scored on that as well. So we take a sort of a combination type of score of that, and we then start to review the resume. So there's all these pre-screening things that we do in the middle of the funnel before they drip down.
Yeah. So then it sounds like this personality assessment that gets you that like composite score is what's flipping to the final, like to pull them into the bottom of the funnel. So what I remember like taking some of these quizzes when I was, like high school, early college, applying to work at bigger companies to do like retail or, stuff like that. Like companies use those. Is this kind of the like among retail workers, they're kind of known as the would you steal quiz? Is that kind of what we're talking about? Or what does that look like?
A little bit. I'll give you the title of a few of them. Mm-hmm. So there's a couple personality assessments we use, and one is level of optimism. How optimistic is the person? Mm-hmm. Integrity, which touches on stealing and things of that nature. So we want honest people that are positive, and we feel at that point we could pretty much mold anybody into being, with training, into being a good technician or office manager or whatever it is. But we go further. One of my favorites is emotional stability. So let's face it, we in most of the industries we touch on in our cleaning businesses around the country, our Blue Skies cleaning businesses, we're not hiring people that are making, driving Porsches and have 50 grand in their savings account and those sort of things. We all have problems, which is fine. We want to make sure that you're stable enough, emotionally stable enough to come in and handle the stress of the job. That's really what that's all about. And then there's a couple others that we use. Conscientious, in other words, do we have to babysit you? That type of thing. We don't like babysitting employees once we get them trained. So there's a lot of that type of thing that we look for in those personality assessments. And if you've got time and you want me to, I can touch on some of those industry specific questions too. I think those are really what was a game changer for us.
Oh, yeah. Let's dive into those. Everybody knows what's going on with Mike real quick. He sent me a message that he is locked out of the tool that we're using. So he can see and hear us, but he can't get in for some reason. So it will just be you and I, Shawn. We'll carry the day.
No problem. Hey, Mike, if you're able to hear me, text Cody a question if you got any questions, man.
There you go. Yeah, I'll get that open on another screen.
So let's see. We own some cleaning companies. So one of the questions we ask, and I'll give you two that you would think on the surface are reasonable things to be upset about. And so we set the table with these questions that we call the things that would upset you the most if you got this job. And we have three choices. You don't come up with your own. So you choose 1, 2, or 3, and we grade those. So remember, we score these automatically. So depending on how they answer, there's going to be a really good answer that we score well, an okay answer is average, and a really poor answer. So here's one of the questions. Out of these three things, what would upset you the most? The worst answer is this. There's somebody that is always late to work, never on time, and the owner or manager never does a thing about it. Okay. On the surface, that seems like something very reasonable to be upset about, because you're getting the kids out the door, you're trying to get to work, and you're never late, and you really work hard not to be late. Reasonable. Okay. Let me spew the data on it, because once we get emotion out of the stuff, we can really figure some things out. And the data, at least for Blue Sky Services and most of our clients, is that person, the common denominator with practically no exceptions, is your gossip king or queen or your drama king and queen. And if you think about it, I'm telling you, I'm going to be really upset depending on what somebody else either does or does not do. Okay. Thank you. I'd rather you just come to work and not worry about what Fred's doing. Maybe Fred came to me and as the owner of the business and said, hey, I just found out some really bad news about my son. You know, he's got this attention disorder, and I've got to go see a psychiatrist with him every morning for an hour. You know, I've been here for a couple of years. It won't, you know, it's only for a month. Is that okay, boss? Well, maybe they don't want to announce that to everybody in the office. So just mind your business, come to work. So that's a big deal. Another one I love, and I'll have one more for you. And again, on the surface, it seems very reasonable somebody would be upset about it, and it's this one. The worst answer out of the three that are going to upset you the most if you get this job: my paycheck is off by $20. My paycheck's off by $20. So you're going to tell me that you're going to be upset about that, and that's going to really steam you over if $20 is. Now, there's two things with that. One is, I never said that we underpaid you. What if we overpaid you? So the mindset of somebody, okay, that's number one, goes right to the negative. That boss, that owner, that company, they pit the employee and boss thing, which is a nightmare. But the other interesting thing about that is what my gut sort of tell me out of 20 some years of doing this is that I am convinced that good employees know they're good employees. I am even more convinced that bad employees know they're bad employees. Okay. What do we tell our good employees? Man, if I could clone you, I love you. Here's to take your spouse out to dinner on me. You're the best. I love it. They hear good things. Mm-hmm. What do we tell bad employees? Mrs. Jones is complaining about her windows or her lawn again. What's going on? You can't be late all the time. They hear that not just where they're at today. They've heard that all their lives probably. Okay. That's what they hear. So the mindset of a good employee, their mind doesn't go to that answer because they know they're going to be taken care of. It might have been a mistake, but they know that they're going to be taken care of. Because if it happens with me and my employees, I'm taking money out of my pocket called cash and going, here, I got a 50 or a couple 20s. I'm sorry I was 20 off. It'll never happen again. Okay. Yeah. If you're a bad employee, the chances of me pulling money out of my pocket are pretty slim and none. If I keep wondering where you're at, why you're not showing up and you're breaking things all the time. Okay. I think that's a reasonable thing to think that that's something to be upset about, but the data shows completely different.
Yeah. Kind of looking at where their mind goes when they see a little bit of a vague thing. They can take it a positive way, they can take it a negative way, and looking for what they're going to do, because that's how they're going to handle a normal problem that arises. Yeah. And
you know what's really cool about it? One of the biggest challenges I had in developing the system, and most I think have or don't think about, is matching your culture in your job description and all the way through that funnel that you call the funnel. And I think some of these industry specific questions lay that out. And I'll give you another example of that and how you can match culture, which is huge. And that is, most house cleaning companies, for example, don't work on weekends, don't work nights, and don't work major holidays. That's pretty much a commonality in a lot, hundreds of cleaning companies around the country. So one of the questions I like to ask is, and it's advertised that you don't. That's a selling point. You don't work weekends. You don't work, And so what happens is, I'd like to ask the question, which one of these three things would upset you the most? And the worst answer is, I have to work 5 Saturdays in a row, and I was told I didn't have to work weekends. Mm-hmm. And so our culture at least at Blue Skies, is literally one of our core behaviors is plow horse. We work like a plow horse, do whatever it takes to make that customer happy in reasonable terms. So I don't like when somebody says, I can't work on a Saturday. That bothers me. It's not part of our core behaviors. It's not part of our company culture at all.
Mm-hmm. And that happens in lawn care companies too, when like normally they don't work Saturdays, but it rained all week and we have to make it up, or we're gonna, we're not gonna make payroll if no one pays us to mow their lawn.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what are kind of to wrap up here? What are some of the big like aha moments that you wish you could have given yourself, 3 years sooner?
I think probably being very careful on the job description is probably the one that really was a big change for us, because like I said, we were really screening people pretty hard in the job description. Mm-hmm. And when you read back through some of the things we used to do, I wouldn't let my daughter apply for a job with us. There was just it was too negative. It was too, you better do this, you better not do that. And it's like, it just wasn't good. The other thing, and I'll give it, this was huge, and I recommend this for everybody out there listening. What we did was, once we did hire somebody, okay, one of the things that we did was, we knew a new person would come in on their first day. We actually had somebody waiting by the door for that person. And when they noticed that person driving into the parking lot, they were to run out by the car with a big smile. So we would find the most, positive human being that would love that type of job. And it's sort of a fun, goofy thing if you let it be. So that personality, that person runs out there. The first thing they see on the first day of their job is this smiling son of a gun sitting there, can't wait to meet you. You already know their name. Don't ask them their name. Hi, Michelle. My name's Joanne. Nice to meet you. We've been waiting for you. We can't wait to see you. We got either coffee or juice for you. We've got donuts, bagels, or fruit, whatever you want. That's what somebody wants to hear on their first day. What typically happens, and what was happening prior to that was, how much does that cost, by the way? About nothing. A little bit of breakfast. That's nothing. So one of the things we used to do is, somebody would come in, there'd be 3 people outside smoking a cigarette going, man, this Monday suck. I can't stand this. I can't believe Mrs. Jones, she sucked. That's what they hear. That's what they hear on their first day of work. They're not going to last long.
Yeah.
And it doesn't cost you anything. It really doesn't.
Yeah. Well, Shawn, thank you so much for joining us today. Mike usually does the wrap up. So this will be up on Spotify and other podcast apps here in the next couple of days if you want to re-listen, or if you want to subscribe so you can listen in the car to future episodes. We're back every Friday at noon Central. I'm not going to try to do the other time zones because I will mess them up. But Shawn, thanks so much for helping us out today. And just to remind people, where can they find you online?
Sure. The best way to do it is probably just to message me on Facebook. Okay. If not there, you can go to yourblueskies.com. Yourblueskies.com. But Facebook's the easy way. If you look up Blue Collar Recruiting, we've got a Facebook Live every Thursday night. We've got about 600 members in the group. We usually get about 3,000 views, something like that. 9 p.m. Eastern time every Thursday night, we have a Facebook Live going on. And I'll be more than happy to talk shop with anybody out there. We do have a recruiting service. We can give you a demo of how we can help you. 15-minute demo, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions. I've been doing this long enough. I don't hard sell a thing. If you want to use us, that's fine. If not, I love talking shop. I'll help you in any way I can.
Awesome. Shawn, thanks so much.
All right, Cody. Take good care. Have a good weekend now, bud.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Now we're waiting for Mike to disconnect us.
I'm going to click off.
Yeah, go ahead and click off.
All right, bud. Take good care.
You too.
If you like this show, you might want to check out our resources at www.startsimplegrowth.com. While you're there, enter to win an estimator chatbot. Mike Callahan is available for private coaching.